Welcome back. Moving on to our next session of Invest Karnataka 2025. Our session 3 is on Make in India for the World. I truly take the pleasure, and it definitely is my honor to invite our speakers on the dais, starting with Aravind Melligeri, Chairman and CEO Aequs. Let's give a big round of applause and let's welcome sir on stage. A hearty warm welcome to you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable presence on stage. I now take the pleasure of requesting our next speaker, Chaitanya Sarawate, South Asia Head, GE Healthcare, to please join us. I extend a hearty warm welcome to N. Venu, MD and CEO, India and South Asia, Hitachi Energy, to please join us. I extend a heartfelt welcome to Guruprasad, Mudlapur, President of Bosch Group India, to please join us. I also extend a warm welcome to Sudeep Dalvi, Senior Vice President, Director and Chief Communication Officer, Toyota Kirloskar Motor. Whereas we have all our dignitaries right here on stage, firstly I would like to thank each one of you for your valuable presence. As we move forward, I would like to call our first speaker to the podium, Mr. Aravind, requesting you to please join us. Before that, let's quickly have a look at the audiovisual. Can we have the AV, please?
Pioneers, collaborators, a global ecosystem that provides core precision engineering and manufacturing facilities. Driven by innovation and quality consciousness. Welcome to our ecosystems of efficiency. Welcome to Aequs, an organization that is redefining contract manufacturing. Aequs was founded on an idea, a dream, and a vision to put India on the global manufacturing map. With the setting up of India's first aerospace SEZ at Belagavi over a decade ago, we made our foray into precision engineering and manufacturing, developing aircraft parts for aerospace giants across the world. Over the years, we have perfected a vertically integrated manufacturing ecosystem that supports the entire aerospace value stream. Our expansion into France and the US provided us a global footprint with delivery locations across 3 continents. We have also made giant strides towards contract production of toys for some of the largest toy makers in the world. Aequs is expanding its toy manufacturing footprint and capabilities with operations at India's first toy manufacturing ecosystem at Koppal in North Karnataka. Aequs manufactures consumer durables for some of the leading global and Indian brands. We are expanding our operations and capabilities in this domain with the planned development of the Hubli Durable Goods Cluster. Over the years, we have been striving to build India as a viable destination for global contract manufacturing, addressing the entire value chain in every domain in which we function. Our efforts thus far have created thousands of career opportunities in North Karnataka, enabling a skilled workforce to realize their true potential. We are driven by the principles of sustainability in everything we do. And through our CSR wing, we have undertaken multiple initiatives to educate and empower our communities. Our efforts have won us numerous accolades from the industry and our customers. But what truly sets us apart is our domain expertise, our impeccable track record, our adherence to global manufacturing standards, and our talent in leadership and execution. With our past successes, current initiatives, and future projects, we are India's answer to manufacturing scalability. We are shaping manufacturing ecosystems that drive opportunity, efficiency, and quality. We've come a long way, but at Aequs, we believe that the journey has only begun.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, I would now leave the podium to Aravind Melligeri. A warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you. So I think the topic of making in India for the world, India historically has been a services-driven economy. We kind of skipped our manufacturing. So I personally started my journey in services business as an engineering design company, Quest Global, I co-founded. And we saw our ability to do technical design for the world for many things. Capital goods, electronics, but we could never manufacture. We never manufactured any of this stuff. Customers used to take these and take it to somebody else, some other country, and ask them to manufacture. I said, that was not good enough for us as a country. We're giving significant value chain out to some other country. That's when we said, hey, we should be able to do this, especially in the aerospace industry, which was our core design activities. Said we should be able to do this in India. And our customer said, you are pushing an open door, but you need to do it. So when we started, our journey in 2007-8 timeframe in Bangalore with a small facility doing aerospace parts. At that time, various government offset requirements and everything helped us bring the customers into India to focus on the aerospace, sourcing from India. But what challenges we saw was the in-country value add was only 20%. When you look at services, we have 100% in-country value add. When you get to manufacturing, if you do not have a large amount of in-country value add, sustainability over the decades is going to be challenging, and customer will not be able to buy from India, especially in a contract manufacturing. When you're not a brand, you are extremely have to be competitive and globally competitive. It's not about India only. So that brought us to a question, how are you going to remain competitive over decades to come in an industry which changes very slow? So that, for us, that answer was, look where the manufacturing is happening today in the world. And especially in the aerospace industry, it was happening in the hinterlands, tier 2, tier 3 cities of the world. Manufacturing doesn't happen in Western countries, in New York, Paris, London. It happens in Wichita, Kansas, Toulouse, France, Birmingham, Wolverhampton. This is where they used to happen. And today also it happens. So for us, if you have to map the same thing, we saw we had to be in tier 2, tier 3 city to really bring a value to our customers in the long run. And we need to build, second one was to increase our in-country value add. 20%, goal is to get to 100%. So we put a 15, 20-year roadmap to do that. And today we are able to say that after 15 years, we are able to do this 100% out of India on several of the products. So that didn't happen out of nowhere, but it happened out of a strategic investments happening on a vertical integration solution through the partnership. And by building this away from the cities, we're able to take a very long-term view, 30-year view, what would we need, infrastructure, facilities, vertical integration, and we're able to sustain this in a long run, which is not possible to do in a large city like Bangalore. And it comes back to this, do we have a talent in these places? The talent is there everywhere in India. Our question is whether are we able to train them to suit your requirements. So if we can suit, you know what you need, and we have to bring in people, a lot of people from globally and based in India, in Belgavi, to train our people to deliver to the world standards, global aerospace requirements. And we could do it because we are committed to do it out of there. It's far easier to do it, say that, hey, okay, do it in Bangalore, set up a facility and move out of here, deliver out of here because some talent is available. But if you have to do it in a scale, if I need to have 2,000 engineers or manufacturing CNC machinists, there is nothing available in anywhere in the country. So you got to train that from foundation, basic aerospace requirements in the CNC machining. That's what we added to. And in a part of a journey, all our location globally is always in the tier 2, tier 3 city. In France, we are in Cholet. It's western part of France. And in India, in the US, we are in north of Dallas, about an hour and a half away, 2 hours away from Dallas city. So it's coming back to my point of we got to go where we can sustain value in the long run, especially if you are not a brand. Many of my colleagues here on the dais are brands. They have luxury of doing sometimes differently, but we don't tend to have that as a contract manufacturer. So a little bit of a journey. We started as a manufacturing company, aerospace, and we quickly realized that if I cannot control in India to a good extent all the infrastructure, the understanding of a rules and regulation with respect to what it applies, especially in an industry where it's export-focused, import, a lot of raw material gets imported and export-focused, regulations become nightmare. So we set up a special economic zone, 250-acre zone in Belgavi, to make sure that we have ability to control all the incoming material with the customs and clearance and everything happening, because you are delivering today, today we are delivering almost every aircraft has a part going from Belgavi today in a global market. And most of the products we are sole source. Means if I stop delivering, my customer has a problem on their final assembly line and delivery. So I need to be able to deliver 100% on time with a zero defect across the world on a drumbeat, on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis. So that means you need to do it in a way you control all your parameters, internal, external. And having a special economic zone gives us the flexibility because customs sits at the zone and various other nuances what we see here won't happen because being a special economic zone, you have special approvals for managing this thing. So we started developing then we saw the infrastructure what we developed was world class. Today, anybody comes anywhere in the world, they see these facilities, they're better than far better than any of their own suppliers in Western countries. Because if you don't do in India, when you're doing something on a low cost, what do we call best cost country or low cost country, customer expectation is you need to be better than anybody else. Your performance has to be better, your facilities have to be better, your people have to be better, otherwise why should I come? I have a solution next door, I've been doing it for 20 years, I'll continue to do what I'm doing. So it's not only that you have to be the better in everything, also you have to give lower price most of the time. But that changes when you become a significant portion of the supply chain and you increase your value add to highest level. In aerospace, we did it we started with machining, then we integrated through joint ventures, the forging, surface treatment, the assembly through the joint ventures. We have 3 joint ventures operating, now 2 joint ventures operating. We bought one out. With the Magellan Aerospace for 15 years, we're operating a surface treatment facility. Then Aubert & Duval, which is owned by Safran and Airbus, we have a forging facility. It's India's largest forging facility, 10,000-ton forging press we have. So by doing this vertical integration, we went from 20% to about 80%. Now we integrated Hindalco's one of the aluminum mill in our supply chain now. And now we have gotten them approved, and that basically takes us to 100% on several products. Today we deliver about 7,500 wheels of aircraft, 737, 320, 100% of the ATR wheels out of this location, 100% in-country value add. So 20 years back, 15 years back, I could have never imagined, although we had a vision, but imagine which product I'm going to do. I didn't know, but today we have several products happening out of India. So it comes down to the ability to build an ecosystem and leveraging the economies of scale. Today we are the largest machining facility in the country for aerospace, more than 1.2 million hours of machining capacity we have in single location, and highest value add in country what we are able to do. So we took this theme, which we felt that we leveraged India's engineering strength when we entered aerospace. And then we saw the biggest other advantage India has is unskilled labor. Unskilled labor in the hinterlands. So we entered the toys industry and expanded that in terms of one of the largest toy exporter of India right now. So that because we can have unskilled labor, abundant unskilled labor in India available, and we're able to compete with China because our wages are 1/3 of China. So today we are able to do 5 to 15% lower cost than China in some of these products. So again, it's our ability to identify the strength, and we couldn't have been able to do this something in like this maybe 2008, 2009, because China wages were equivalent to India at that time. Only 2011 post, the wages in China started increasing significantly. Today they are 1/3. Today, like India is 1/3 of China wages. So then we entered in 2022 consumer durables. We just announced a joint venture with the Tramontina, which is a Brazilian company, to do the manufacturing of cookwares. And then we entered into consumer electronics last year, leveraging India's push for consumer electronics. Again, almost everything is an export-focused industry, and they'll continue to do that activity. So we talked about we have 5,000 people operating in 2 verticals, aerospace and consumer side. And this is what we have vertical integrated facility we built. Over 3 million square feet operations we have in Belgavi and Hubballi and Koppal together. And this has been built from this was a barren land in 2009. Today we have 4,000-5,000 people operating in this location on a daily basis, on a 3-shift basis, on a 24/7. This place never closes unless it's a government holiday. Otherwise, it keeps running. And as I said, in every airliner has a part going from this location. So in terms of, what it takes to do this, the challenge is infrastructure. Infrastructure is always a challenge. When I started in Belgavi, there were no flights. We used to drive 10 hours, 12 hours to reach this location. You ask a customer to come drive 12 hours, he will never do it. So you got to think about it. So today India is much more connected everywhere. Today we have flights, you can do a day trip. But if we didn't take that down at that time, and we didn't develop, there was not a single 3-star hotel in that location. Today we have 4 of them. So the connectivity improves the economy. It's a vicious, basically it's like a self-propelling growth what will happen. When we bring in some customers, then it'll further develop the economy locally, and employees. Today the wages have gone up. Obviously the rentals have gone up because everybody can afford to do that. It's good for the whole economy. And it's not easy to convince the stakeholders to invest in a location which is far off, because risks are way too many. It's like sitting in US and asking them to invest in India. It's no different than people who are here mostly investing in big cities and trying to invest in the small towns. They don't understand what it takes to do this. So it's one of the biggest challenge we see, and a lot of that. But if you can invest in the people, if you can develop, you have the ability to sustain long term, and you can make this work. And it's very important to keep that in mind, and ability to having that runway in front of you to invest in, especially. And you have to work with the government, because ultimately government infrastructure is something you cannot do it, but government is the only one who has to do it. So you have to convince them to do the right infrastructure so that you can be successful with this. So if we can create an ecosystem, we believe we can scale. And today, scale of our manufacturing is in line with anything like in China or any of the eastern side on the consumer side. And the western side, it's much bigger than some of our western competitors. So that pretty much gives us opportunity to do that. So we also are an integral part of the community. We work with the schools and take care of the development, education, all the way K through 12. And it's ultimately, it's important to have them as you're part of community, and you have to be a responsible community player. That's about it. In a nutshell, manufacturing hinterlands is just not about factories. It's being integrated, part of the community, and perseverance is absolutely necessary to do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aravind. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would now take the pleasure of requesting Chaitanya Sarawate to please come to the podium for the next talk. Chaitanya Sarawate, sir. Could we have the AV, please?
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay. So today I represent B2B Healthcare and the overall medical technology industry. I wanted to thank Aravind, who came before me and explained the wonders of manufacturing for aerospace in India. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story of B2B Healthcare. First and foremost, B2B Healthcare has been around in India, and very specifically in Karnataka and Bangalore for more than 30 years. We are present across the world, obviously, as GE Healthcare, but as Wipro GE Healthcare, we are present here in Bangalore. Some of you might have seen Whitefield, and if you have faced some traffic jams, you have us to blame a little bit as well. We are contributing to 30+ products, 4 manufacturing sites, lots of innovation, and then obviously the largest R&D center. But I want you to think back to 1990. think back to India of 1990. That is when the bold vision of Mr. Azim Premji and Jack Welch from GE Healthcare came together, and it observed three key trends which were true then as they are true today. Oftentimes we talk about the incredible human talent which is present in India. More specifically, when you think about Bangalore and Karnataka, you cannot but think about Indian Institute of Science or St. John's Hospital producing the quality talent which is available at scale like nowhere else. So it's a source of talent. Secondly, the dynamism that you see across the streets of Bangalore, it was as present in 1990 as it is present today, which was people who wanted to think about startups, people who wanted to start new businesses, example being Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw thinking about starting a business in her garage in 1978. That dynamism meant that there was a significant ecosystem which was available of suppliers, of manufacturers to support an idea like Wipro GE Healthcare. Number three, we were always a populous nation, and a populous nation always requires healthcare. It's an unassailable truth. That demand we knew would grow, whether it is in 1990 or whether it is in 2025. So with the three advantages true of India, which is demand, dynamism, and the talent that is there, or demography that is there, with that as the strength, not only of India, but very specifically of Karnataka, Wipro GE came about. Now, throughout these 30 years, we started small, initially starting to manufacture and design small subcomponent subsystems and importing products which were sold all across India in hospitals, primary healthcare centers, district hospitals, etc. But that journey was always with a singular purpose, and the purpose was to make sure that there is a world where healthcare has no limits. Not India where healthcare has no limits, but a world where healthcare has no limits. Working through 4 business units, whether it is equipment, whether it is servicing those equipment, whether it is digital or pharmaceutical diagnostics, we wanted to make sure that that vision translates into reality for India as well as for rest of the world. And that's the reason, while Atmanirbharta is a new buzzword, we have been on the journey to innovate and make in India and for the world for last 35 years. We are the first company which set up a very large technology center in Whitefield, which employs more than 2,500 direct employees and more than 2,500 indirect employees, so almost 5,000 employees. It's a very large R&D center, the largest one for GE Healthcare across the world. It files on an annual basis more than 100 patents and contributes to innovative technology, whether it is AI, whether it is additive, whether it is automation, which is embedded in products which are installed across hospitals and primary healthcare centers or secondary healthcare centers across the world. So there is a fingerprint of an engineer from India in delivering good quality healthcare and affordable quality healthcare for all the hospitals around the world. This is something that we are incredibly proud of, and it is something that has developed over a period of time. Secondly, we have 4 manufacturing plants within a 5-kilometer radius in Bangalore in Whitefield. Whether they are the plants which manufacture cutting-edge products like the first CT that got manufactured, first PET CT that was manufactured here in India, or it is components such as tubes or generators or detectors all across the world. We have also ensured that we participated in the government's production-linked incentive and set up a new plant recently in 2020. And we are continuing to not just supply these products to Indian healthcare system, but also the global healthcare system. Now, obviously, these products are distributed here in India for the benefit of the patients here in India. We are one of the largest players in, whether it is the PPP that governments have instituted in order to ensure that care reaches the last patient, or is it private hospitals which want to adopt the newest technology so that it can be delivered to patients all across. with a significant presence built over the last 35 years. Not only do we have the largest install base of healthcare technology across our healthcare system, but we also have the supporting infrastructure, including service professionals, present in more than 650 of the 730 districts. So we are not just creating employment here in Karnataka, but we are creating employment elsewhere. Over this period, we have touched 300 million patients who have used or who have been diagnosed or treated through the treatments that came out of the engineering that happened here or came out of the manufacturing that happened here. Just to think about it, 300 million is 1 in 4 patients. So if you look around you, there are at least few people around you whose families may have benefited from the technology which was designed and developed here in Bangalore and manufactured here in Bangalore. Now, obviously, we think of a healthcare company to have not just a financial motivation, but also a moral responsibility to give back to the society. Whether it is in the form of enabling Karnataka government upgrade certain primary healthcare centers in Raichur, which is an aspirational district, or whether it is ensuring that our employees contribute to making the environment around us clean so that we have a healthier India, which is necessary to be a developed India, a healthier Karnataka, which is necessary to be a leading state in the country. That as the background, we have over last 30 years invested 32,000 crores in Karnataka. Our intention is to continue to partner with Karnataka government, with the civil society here, with the suppliers here, with the academia here, to make sure that over the next 5 years, we will invest an additional 8,000 crore, which will ensure that more employment gets generated, healthcare improves, and we build a society in India as well as across the world where healthcare has no limits. With that, I would like to thank all the partners, all the employees, all the government officials and the academia who have helped us traverse this journey, and look forward to continuing this partnership in the future as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chaitanya Sarawate, for that wonderful presentation. Moving forward, I would now request Venu to kindly please grace the podium with your valuable presence. Let's have a look at the audiovisual, please. Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me? Podium mics, please. Yeah, is okay? Yeah, good. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
My mic.
Some of you are not able to hear on the dais, so that's where the request. So good afternoon once again. First of all, it's a great pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you for my co-panelists. They have really talked about very great things about it. And let me just give our perspective from Hitachi Energy, where I run this Hitachi Energy in India and South Asia and that. So we always work in a little bit more in a positive, in a past tense, made in India and made for the world. And that's where we are trying to do that. And as you see, probably you know in the last 10 years or even more so, the manufacturing sector, the focus on the manufacturing sector has been very intense. And we have become a more formidable, I would say, still not there when we are to compare with our neighbors, but we have made a lot of progress. Earlier, we used to be only known as, our services services nation, right? IT and IT-enabled services. Today, we are really making a lot of progress in the manufacturing. And this has not happened overnight, right? A lot of efforts from the governments, both central and states, and in terms of the providing the policy support, ease of doing businesses, and coupled with the industry's proactive actions have helped us where we are today. Take, for example, our ease of doing business ranking has moved almost 70 places in the last 5 years. And the Make in India policies, a driving force behind economic growth, job creation, and also, competitiveness in that. Take, for example, Hitachi Energy today, whatever we are producing here, 1/4 of that we are exporting around the world. And not only we are exporting, we are competing with any of our peers, whether they are in the Europeans, they are in the East Asian countries, at the same scale and the same speed and the same quality standards in that. And when it comes to the government's initiatives, whether it's a production-linked incentive scheme, semiconductor ecosystem, and in the logistics, Gati Shakti, National Logistics Policy, Startups India, tax reforms, especially on the GST, all these have really spurred the growth of the manufacturing system, ease of doing businesses, and many companies, not only the Indian companies, but also global companies are coming forward and setting up the things. And as you can see here, almost $600+ billion FDI in 10 years was as India as a country has received it. And when it comes to the ease of doing businesses, as I said, we have improved by close to 70 places in that. And you have seen the budget in the 2 weeks back, and budget has, while it is a continued journey towards whatever we have been talking about, creating an ecosystem to make India as a Viksit Bharat 2047, and a lot of policies have been continued in that. There are also new policies, especially on the new manufacturing mission, Bharat Trade Net, and export promotion mission. All these things will further augur well for the manufacturing sector in that. If I give you one example in the budget about our industry, our energy industry, I think a lot of positive things are there. You all know that the government as a country has made a huge ambitious target by 2030. But as a country as a whole, on 2030, they want to achieve 50% of the energy requirement is met through the renewable, and 500 gigawatt of renewable generation capacity by 2030, and 500 gigawatt of interstate transmission networks creation by 2030, and also 1 billion tons of reduction of CO2, 5 million tons of production of the green hydrogen gases. They're all huge tailwinds. And to reach those tailwinds, country as a whole, we need to do at least minimum 2 to 3 times more than what we have been doing it. And if we continue to do what we have been doing, we will never achieve that. That's where a lot of focus on the manufacturing system, ecosystem, clusterization, and policy standpoint in that. In the budget, they have further augmented, especially on the clean tech manufacturing focus, talking about the policy supports, and also trying to ensuring that those critical equipments are available in the country, not only for the country for energy security, but also export standpoint in that. Similarly, there's a lot of incentives for duties, exemptions, etc., for a rare earth metal like a cobalt, lithium-ion battery waste, etc. They are very important for the sunrise sectors like electrical vehicles or energy storage. Those are the things in that. The good part is that both the governments at the center and state has continued the journey to create the great ecosystems to fuel the growth of the manufacturing sector in India. And Karnataka, as you all know, is leading from the front. And again, Karnataka has been in the forefront in coming out with a lot of industry-friendly policies. And they have done many of them in the first. For example, energy sector, they are the fastest. 60% of the installed capacity in Karnataka comes from the renewable in that. The second highest FDI flows, and 750 MNCs providing a direct jobs to almost 12 lakh professionals and 31 lakh indirect jobs in Karnataka in that. In addition to a lot of the Indian manufacturing companies in that. Almost more than 6% of India's total exports comes from India, comes from Karnataka in that. And 42% of India's total IT exports from Karnataka. That's no wonder why many companies have made home, Karnataka is their home, and in the same way Hitachi Energy also has made our home in Karnataka. So we are, as I said, we are the global company, And in India, we have been present in the last 75 years. Last year, we have celebrated our 75 years. And we have 19 manufacturing factories are there in 8 places. Out of 8 places, 3 locations are based out of Karnataka. We have presence in Pinya and Dodaballapur and Mysore, and we are expanding in that. 80% of our global portfolio we manufacture locally here. And as I told you earlier, 25% of whatever we are producing, we export. We export to direct customers in Asia, in Middle East, in Africa, in North America and Europe. And in addition to that, we have been expanding in that, investing not only in the manufacturing, investing in the ecosystem to strengthen our manufacturers pursuit, but also our suppliers. We are working with closely many of the suppliers to ensure that they are also scaling up. They not only supply to our factories in India, but they supply to Hitachi energy factories in Sweden, in Switzerland, in North America, etc. In that, we are creating the supplier ecosystem in India in very, very critical components and sub-assemblies in that. In addition to that, we have been expanding on the R&D and engagement with the very premier institutions to create the skill sets available in the country for this energy transition. We are the leading company providing the technology for the energy transition, and it's extremely important that the talent is available in the country in that. As I said, we are very deeply enriched in Karnataka, and not only we are manufacturing, but we are also helping Karnataka, powering the Karnataka's energy system, whether the largest SCADA system, more than 1,000 of substations have been monitored through our SCADA system in this country, in this state. And similarly, the data centers, one of those third data center is powered through our technology in that. And powering the state's largest steel integrated plant in Karnataka. And finally, as Honorable Minister of Industry yesterday talked about our Namma Metro, the Namma Metro is powered through our power and automation SCADA, manufactured here, designed here, and locally we are able to supply all these things. 3 of our manufacturing facilities in Karnataka and are frontlining the growth story, not only for Hitachi Energy, but also providing support to many of our suppliers in this state. We are investing in Karnataka, and we are investing in Karnataka not only for energy transition in the state and the country, but also energy transition for the globally in that. So we have inaugurated a brand greenfield power quality factory in Dodaballapur 2 years back. Which is, we have since then, we almost doubled our capacity over there, and there we are exporting to our North America customers in that. So if you come to any of our factory, whether it is in Dodaballapur, whether it is in Pinya or in Baroda, or you go to our factories in Ludvika in Sweden or Switzerland, the look and feel the same. You don't find once you are inside, whether you are in Sweden, whether you are in Dodaballapur, and the quality standards are same, the productivity standards are same, and that's why we are creating the products not only for India, but for the rest of the world in that. Yesterday we have signed an MOU for 1,000 crores we are investing in Karnataka, and this is a real investment as we speak. The projects are on the ground. We are expanding our factory in Mysore. We are also expanding our global competitive center in Bangalore, etc. in that. In addition to that, we are a hardcore engineering company, a technology company, innovation-led company. It's important that we bring a lot of diversity into our organization. We have signed up with many of the Tier 2, Tier 3 universities in Karnataka to bring women into engineering, hardcore engineering in that. I know that a lot of women likes to IT and IT-enabled services, but it's extremely important that they also need to work and understand the ecosystem where we are building for the future of not only for our generations, but the generations to come in that. And the last, what does the future look like? India's decade is here. We all know that, right? We are the 5th largest economy. We want to be 3rd largest economy in the next 3-4 years. And then we have a very clear roadmap that Viksit Bharat, the developed nation by 2047. And that can only happen and with all the actions and initiatives, not only the government, but all the industries are taking forward in that. And in this journey, Karnataka will be the key driver of this growth story. The next decade presents an opportunity for India to lead sustainable manufacturing by driving the energy transition and bolstering technology exports. Continued focus on requisite infrastructure, conducive business environment, and fostering innovation will make India an ideal destination not only for today's but also in future ready manufacturing in that. We have a great place. I'm really happy to be part of, Karnataka is a great story. We are continue to invest here, and I request all of you, please look at the opportunities available in Karnataka, not only in the manufacturing from the policy standpoint, but also skill sets available and the market available. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing all those valuable insights with us and for the presentation. Can we hear a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? I will now take the pleasure of requesting Guruprasad Mudlapur to kindly please join me onto the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. I represent Bosch. I head Bosch in India. And I'm going to speak about what Bosch does and what gives me right to speak to you about this topic, Make in India for the World. So I believe we have a lot of heritage in India. And I think heritage is not the only reason I'm here addressing you. We started in India more than 100 years ago, actually over 100 years ago, 1922 to be precise. But manufacturing started way back in 1953. That's when we started manufacturing in India, for India. But right now we have 17 manufacturing plants all over India, and Bangalore has been our base. We've been a company headquartered out of Bangalore with our largest base out of Bangalore. A lot of you from Karnataka and Bangalore recognize Bosch as a more or less homegrown company here. A lot of you also connect with the old name of Bosch or the previous name of Bosch in Karnataka, which used to be known as Myco, which is pretty familiar with many of you old-timers here. So it's got a lot of heritage, a lot of history, but it's also a company which has reinvented itself quite a few times. And I believe in this space of manufacturing, that's a very, very essential quality that's extremely critical in today's time and age, that we need to continuously reinvent, and that's very, very important as well. In India, we are about 39,700 people today, with an overall turnover as a group of about 3.8 billion euro. So it's a very healthy company doing quite well as a group, with very healthy portfolio across multiple segments. Our portfolio across mobility is the biggest, but we have spread quite a few areas. And if you just walk across to the other hall, you can get a glimpse of what we are doing at Bosch. And I encourage all of you to just take a walk and take a look at some of the things we are showcasing there. Our portfolio across manufacturing also spreads quite deep. We do quite an extensive range of manufacturing activities in India. Very, very well spread across multiple elements, and it's something that goes quite deep with a lot of manufacturing depth, which is spread across multiple elements that are covering many, many areas. As I said, we started way back in 1953 with multiple manufacturing locations. We have very good depth in manufacturing, and we started our localization journey partnering with many vendors locally. We've developed quite a lot of extensive vendor base in India, for India, and also we've done quite a lot of development of vendor base for the world, which is quite credible. Today we also use our vendor base in India for exports. We do quite a lot of our vendor base in India for Indian manufacturing. So about 50% of our manufacturing is localized completely. The rest of it comes, and this is based on products. Depending on certain products, it's as high as 85% or even 90%. On certain products, it's maybe a little bit less. So depending on the products and the mix, it's varying. Now let's look at what is good look at India as a manufacturing base for the world. And that's generally the topic for discussion today. And if we were to just reflect on where we stand with regard to India and what's our place in the manufacturing world, it's a good time to reflect on where China was sort of way back in 2000, in the early 2000s. If you look at where China is today, last year our GDP was about 3.55 trillion. And as a number I have here with me, China exported 3.58 trillion. So our turnover, our GDP of last year was the export of China last year. So that's how big China's export was last year. And that actually is not something for us to brood over or feel disappointed about. It just shows the potential we have in terms of not catching up, but in terms of where we can reach with regard to manufacturing. It's a potential where manufacturing can go. We've largely been a services economy, and I think that's something we've grown quite well. Unlike many other manufacturing-led countries, we've been a largely services-led country. And that's a bit of a it's a thing which we have aped the more developed countries, where the more advanced countries have been the countries which have grown with services economies, while the more developing countries have grown with the manufacturing economies, while we've grown sort of with the services economy, and we've sort of ignored the manufacturing economy for a long time. And that's something that is worthwhile catching up. And the government has been doing quite a lot over the last, I would say, 10 years or so to catch up on manufacturing. And this is something we should all be focused on. And as industry and as colleagues here gathered today, in terms of investing in the economy and as investing in the state, I think we need to do quite a lot more to catching up on investments in manufacturing sector to catch up on this. We can also look at what did China do to do the right things towards growth in the manufacturing sector. I would say they had a lot of good and diverse talent, which is extremely critical. And we can also proudly say that we have that today in plenty. They had a reason to catch up on high technology advancements, and they did that extremely well over at least 20 years, starting from 2000s all the way to 2024, and now they're really in the deep seek era, catching up on the AI wave. They've got a very large internal market. That's something we also have. We should certainly capitalize on that. And they have an extremely good government support. And that's something we also have today. So there are quite a few extremely good support systems which China had at that point of time in 2000 to ride on. And that's a good reflection for us to look at in terms of what should we be doing to propel ourselves into a good global manufacturing economy. But if you also look at what is it that that's required to be an advanced manufacturing economy at this point of time, because what worked for China in the early 2000s to be a manufacturing economy may not also be the right things for us today, because the time at that point of time was very different, because manufacturing at a mass scale in terms of Industry 4.0 was just beginning at that point of time. That's not the case today, and we are in a very different economy. We are in a very different level of automation. We are now looking at more in an Industry 5.0 era. So what is it that we should be looking at? What should be the competitive environment? I think this is something we should start looking at. And what are the industrial ecosystems we should look into? What are the advanced technology areas? What are the supply chain requirements that we should be focused on? What are the clean technology areas? Some of my colleagues on the podium talked about what they're doing within their own industrial areas today. What are the sustainable and green technology introductions that we should be doing to stay ahead of the curve? For example, the whole steel manufacturing has started to require green manufacturing requirements. So these are things which are becoming mandated today. There's a lot of emphasis on R&D-led manufacturing. This is something we need to focus on rather than just licensed manufacturing techniques, because this will run its course very quickly. And of course, we need to develop a very strong infrastructure for manufacturing, which is also something that's very, very critical in terms of logistics, in terms of cheaper manufacturing infrastructure, from ensuring that the entire value chain is localized and we are able to have the lowest cost of manufacturing. We need to have this in, at the lowest cost manufacturing ensured so that we are a competitive manufacturing base in India. So I believe in terms of India being a competitive manufacturing base, we now start to have the ingredients well in place, and we should start to capitalize on this as we move forward in the years to come. What we have done well so far, I would say we have started to strengthen our logistics and infrastructure base. We have seen that over the years, the government has put in a lot of measures to strengthen the logistics and infrastructure base. We have seen steady progress in our highways and infrastructure. This is something that is very, very credible. Things move very, very rapidly from place to place now. There is a government-led push towards production. There have been a lot of incentives. The PLI is a great boost towards manufacturing. There is a national infrastructure pipeline which certainly helps. The National Semiconductor Mission, which is helping. There is a lot of PLI in multiple sectors which has helped bring in manufacturing, which incentivizes the right sectors, including our own sector in the automotive sector, which has certainly benefited manufacturing. We have also a lot of GCCs which have started, which certainly help bring in the engineering talent which is necessary to bring in right competences for manufacturing. And certainly the right now the reforms in budget which are appropriate to push not just the consumption but also necessary reforms towards further liberalization in terms of customs and others to help manufacturing boost towards a better manufacturing economy towards the globally competitive manufacturing base India should be. So I believe we have all the ingredients in place for us to be ready for that, and I'm pretty positive that we will get to that as we go forward, and looking forward to continued investments in India, and let's continue to work in that direction. Thank you very much.
Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to our next speaker. I truly take the pleasure of requesting Sudeep Dalvi to please join me on the podium.
Okay, this is Sudeep Dalvi. I'm from Toyota Kirloskar Motor. And I think most of my co-panelists have already spoke, so probably it's easy for me to just summarize what we spoke. But since I represent the automotive sector, so I would like to talk more on the automobile sector and towards Make in India, what are the challenges and how we should prioritize and what is the way forward. Just to know, I think many of you might have seen this, but I just want to reiterate again. There's a clear goal as a Viksit Bharat, and which has been led by the government of India. And if you look at from 2014, it started from like a Make in India. Probably that's a way where how to create the job work in India, and that was the more important for us. It moves from the Make in India to Made in India, which brings the innovation and the kind of manpower skill, etc. And then recent announcement last year, it was Design in India for the world. So you could look at the kind of trajectory, why the government is in pushing this kind of drive every 5 years. And this drive is not only from the making us competitive, but also giving certain policies in terms of the incentives or skill, etc., so that we can really be in sustainable growth in India is going to happen. It's very important because this is what we call as a Amrut Kal, till 2047, and how we should really work. And this is something is a kind of guiding principle for us to make in India to realize. And I think many of my colleagues already explained, it's not only telling the target, telling the vision, but also has been supporting in a various policy, whether it is a defense and space, economy and industry, particularly many Abhiyan, digital innovation, health and education, you name it. There are a lot many policies, a lot of many incentives, a lot many promotions. It's been very articulated. But it is not only the carrot, we also find some stick. There are certain regulations coming up, whether it is a QCO or the compliances, which make us to make sure that how can we add the value to the localization, and therefore it's very, very important. There is an action plan and there is a target has been set for us for the Make in India. When I look at, I think Venu has specifically mentioned this matrix, but I just would like to say, where are we today and what we need to achieve? Few examples just to put it here. If you look at the economy or industry, particularly GDP, today we are at around 3.7, probably the dollar economy, and where we need to be 30 trillion economy, we have to have almost 8 to 10 times growth. So that is a very, among us, we have only 25 years to go, and that is a growth. If you look at the GDP per capita, today we hardly $2,700, but if you want to be a Viksit Bharat, I think we have to have almost 7 times more. And if we go all, whether it is infrastructure, energy sustainability, and defense spend and other area, you could very clearly say, where are we today and what we want to achieve to realize our vision of Viksit Bharat. And this is something important for all of us here to realize that Make in India is not so simple. There's a huge task and huge kind of accomplishment we have to do together, which require more than 7 to 8% growth from now onwards next 25 years. So that's the kind of skeleton, that's the framework. We need to work on that. When I look at from the manufacturing area, and this is something a GDP from the different segment. And today's topic, we are a little bit more on the manufacturing area. Almost the 15% is the kind of the contribution of manufacturing area. And if you look at in manufacturing, and where I belong from the automotive sector, we cover the 50% of the manufacturing base. That means around 7 to 8% of the total GDP is being contributed by the automotive sector. And therefore, today's my discussion is more on the automotive sector, where all will can recognize what are the challenges and what's the way forward we need to look at. If you look at the current situation, if we want to be a Viksit Bharat, and this is what the target we come from the 2047, look at the today's Indian automotive market growth. Today almost 214.7. If you look at the China, I think my colleague Guru has already spoke about where is the China. This is almost 5 times more than us today. USA almost 15 million, more than 3 times. So that's the kind of game, or that's the kind of scale we need to expand for next 24 years. Just for some of the KPI, if I want to say that, look at the annual production today. We are all put together, 2-wheeler, 3-wheeler, we almost 25 million. But we need to grow almost double. It's a 50 million vehicles with a 3 to 4% growth. That's the kind of scale. If you look at the EV penetration today, we are looking ourselves as a EV penetration almost 80%. That's our vision. But today we are just less than 5%. So that's the kind of scale is what we need to look at in the automotive sector for us to be in line with the what vision we are talking about 2047. So what is the challenge if you recognize in the automotive sector? As of course, there are certain things good as the economy. National highways are being growing up. If you look at today, there's almost 49% growth in 1 decade, if you look at the overall perspective. And there is a lot of network is getting better. It's a good for the infrastructure, it is good for logistic costs, it is good for the conveyance. But what is more bothering to us, if you look at the accident, and that's something is very bothering to us, because we are into automotive sector, which is somehow other, we have been related to the fatal accident, which is very, very alarming. And therefore, it's become very, very uncertain for us that how we can able to make sure we grow, but in a very, very sustainable manner. And that's where the current challenge is. Of course, government is putting a lot of regulation in terms of the vehicle. There's a BN cap or self-driving, that is what we call as ADAS, autonomous, and a lot of. Today, if you look at the regulation of India, is almost in line with the global. And of course, because of the mostly on the safety and emission, because that's very important, because we can't have a business without taking care of the community in largest perspective. And this has increased the kind of the features or the equipment on the vehicle, and it of course increased the cost. That's very, very important. If you look at the India, till if you today, if you look at our energy import, almost everybody is aware that the total crude oil import is almost more than 70%. And overall, the trade deficit is the biggest kadai for us. So India cannot work on the single energy source. We have to be energy independent. Otherwise, our geopolitical relationship or that becomes another bottleneck. So India always work on the multi-pathway energy pathway. And that's for whether it is a biogas, ethanol, or the electrified vehicle, or even long term, you can say CBG, hydrogen, or methanol. It's going to be there. Because unless we make the multi-pathway, probably it's not easy for us to be energy independent. And therefore, it's very relevant. Not only energy independent, but also we need to look at the emission or the pollution. So it's become very important that the CAFE regulation, which is important for us to control the carbon neutrality. So almost all the technology will be more green, all the technology which is more being advanced. So that is what the requirement for us to be sustainable way to our growth in terms of the automotive sectors. Third point, as a commodity. If you look at the cars today, if 20 years back, I'll just give you an example, the electronics part of the car is hardly 10 to 15%. Today, as we move for the smart and smart developed vehicle, you could figure out more than 50% of the components are electronics or related to the digital. It's important that we are making more movable to the more green and more digital. But what is the reality today? If you look at the commodity wise, if any vehicle, there is always casting, forging, stamping, molding, resin. If we are okay, we are almost globally matching. We are almost there. And we will definitely be competitive globally. But the area of concern is electronics and digital. And I think yesterday also there was a lot of investment has been announced, a lot of semiconductors and the Foxconn, many are coming up because that is the need of the hour. Because unless we tackle or unless we become competitive on this commodity, I don't think India can have an edge over the world for not only domestic but also for the export. And that is something a kadai for us to look at, that how we can improve. These are the kind of value chain so that we can become competitive, and that is why Make in India has been relevant for the problem what we have been understanding today in the automotive sector. Just to give simple slide in the point, I think most of my colleagues have explained how to do, but I would say that there are three fundamental pillars. Of course, we need to boost manufacturing. When I say manufacturing, it is MSME. Because the core of the manufacturing, core of the cost, core of the competitiveness, core of the quality is come from the MSME. Because unless you improve the true localization, it is not a bringing tier 2, tier 3 parts from the import and then you do the assembly. But important is that how do you do the true localization? That means the MSMEs have become the base of base for making our strong kind of competitiveness. Second is green mobility. It's very, very important because it's not the kind of, because we also have challenge of being a carbon and sustainable society. So the green mobility is going to be a game plan. And therefore, how can we ensure not only green mobility, but also the manufacturing? Because circular economy has always been important because we just can't keep on consuming. We need to make a disposal, and therefore the circular economy is very important, and it's very important in manufacturing process. How can we have a sustainable kind of green mobility and green manufacturing? Workforce development, we need to match the skill. It is not a skill which we required earlier. How do you match the skill what is industry needs? So a lot of academia and the industry has to work together to develop the skill and make sure that we align to what we need for the business and what we need for the future mobility. Cost competitiveness, which is a base, we cannot be, because unless we become cost competitive, I think we cannot get opportunity for global. And as I explained to you, the cost competitiveness today, it is not just coming by manufacturing, but the innovation, that's very important. Today, India is not supposed to be taken as a localization only because of the cheap labor, but as the innovation and technology. So it's very important how do you invest for the R&D or for the technology is equally important to remain the competitive. Infrastructure and logistics, I think many my colleague has explained, is a continuous. We have to improve unless we have better ecosystem. I think that cannot be avoided in that case. And of course, global expansion. Today, India has to pitch in. India has to be differentiator, and therefore, it's very, very important that how can we make the impression on the global footprint, and that becomes us the scale. And once we get the scale, I think competitiveness will get along with that. So these are some of the perspective I thought I should share here, and I think together we can really bring the difference. So thank you very much for your patient listening. Appreciate your thank you.
Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we should give a big round of applause for our dignitaries on stage. Thank you so much for such a wonderful session and for sharing all the valuable insights. Do we have any questions? In case any, can you please raise your hand up in the air? And we'll have the mics being passed. Could we have the mic, please?
Thank you. Hello. Thank you very much for the very informative presentations. I have two brief points to make. One, make in India and make for the world. Do you think that there should be a separate policy incentives package to be formulated by the government of India to encourage in more and more industries to ensure export promotion? And point number B, this is addressed to Mr. Aravind. I compliment you for setting up all your 3 units in North Karnataka. because the government of Karnataka has been all the time wanting industries to come and invest in North Karnataka. You have taken the lead, and compliments to you. What has been your total experience of operating in North Karnataka, and also especially a new and a novel thing like a toy center in Koppal? Nobody would ever think of that. And what are your future plans in the coming years? Thank you, sir.
From look, we need to, whenever you establish an industry, you need to look at a total addressable market. If you look at addressable market, many areas, India, at least the areas where we have touching, India is a very small percentage of the global market. Like toys, for example, it's a $80 billion global market. India is like $1.5 billion. Okay, so it's a very small. Aerospace, India is today about 3-4% of a global market, going to 10% when all the aircraft get delivered, but growing at 16% a year. So the markets are small. When markets are small, they grow faster also. And our own per capita income is increasing, growth is increasing. So we need to look from, it's not either domestic or export. It is more from where the market is. Today it may be export, tomorrow it may be India. So we need to, our government policies are very complicated. We have SEZs, we have EOUs, we have DTA. It gets, if government can simplify this, give us more flexibility to do it, it will help for same business units to do both, and more capital. And ultimately, India is a capital, cost of capital is high. So we need to efficiently use capital to make sure we are successful and competitive globally when cost of capital is much lower in countries like China. So I think that is the important piece in terms of domestic versus exports, you know. So you have to be clear about where your initial market is and potentially where you can compete. If you can compete globally, you'll be in a good spot in the future and domestically compete also, possibly. Not necessarily, because domestic has its own nuances, but level playing field comes, you will be able to compete. Our experience in North Karnataka, look, government has been very supportive. And when I set up Belgaum SEZ 2009, nobody knew us. Okay, it didn't matter. So I mean, most of our SEZs we acquire parks, we acquired privately, the land developed and set up because we didn't want to deal with the government, because always it's a challenge. But over a period of time, we have seen once we saw what we were doing, they've been very come and supported us very heavily. And when we set up Koppal Toy Cluster, they came up with an incentive package specifically for that. And we set up a Hubli cluster. They came up with, in fact, the government offered us the KIDB land and we acquired from them. They are made a lot more easier over a period of time. And they're also seeing these clusters are the way to answer competitiveness and bring a global competitiveness. Because we cannot be in isolation in some place. We have to be building an ecosystem and compete on a global platform. Okay, then only we can bring more economic value to the state and the country and India.
If I make a comment on your first question, I think it's a very, very important thing in that, you know, unlike China, ours is a consumption-based economy. We are built over a period of time. That's a great thing in that, because whereas China is predominantly export-focused in that, the moment there is any problem, they have a problem. So that's a great thing in that, as my colleague talked about, is that, you know, we have a huge market available here, and the market is becoming bigger and bigger in many sectors as the disposable income is going up and the market is going up in that. What we need is, we need to have a policies which is suitable for the manufacturing sector as a whole. You are having a domestic market, and you can also export it in that. So that should be the case. So far, whatever the production-linked incentive schemes, it needs to further enhance to many other sectors in that. This is how China has attracted this thing in that. What we need is a clusterization in that. Large companies are coming and putting up, but, you know, if the small companies are not able to, you know, mobilize, we will not able to compete, because large companies, for example, Hitachi Energy, we are working with 2,000 MSMEs in this country. So they are all a backbone. If they are well and they are investing it and they are profitable, then for us it's easy in that. So that is the ecosystem we need to build. Clusterization, end-to-end, you know, sub-assemblies or raw material availability is the need of the hour for the industry. Thank you.
Maybe one point to add, same to the first question. So most of the panelists here, including myself, and I can speak for medical technology, our industry has a scale benefit. In order to ensure that we are competitive globally, we need to get scale benefit fast. Now in China, they have a local market which is large enough, which affords them the scale, which allows them to be competitive outside. And so one of the best things that any government can do in India is to stimulate local demand, which allows us to gain scale. That's number one. Number two, oftentimes we are very dependent upon supplier ecosystem, which are making small components essentially. Now these players tend to be in the MSME sector, making sure that there are incentives and support infrastructure, including ease of doing business for the small entities, even some who might be from different countries who are able to relocate here. Helping with that will ensure that my component cost goes down, which makes me competitive for export as well. So I would say that that's the way, in general, the answer would be in terms of what the support will be required.
Also, I think what's worthwhile remembering is the fact that over the last 20 years, there was a phase of globalization, which is at a point of introspection today. Whether that phase should continue as it did over the last 20 years or should it undergo a change. Because all countries today are re-evaluating that phase of globalization, and that's where you start to see tariffs, for example, what the US is doing, or barriers in other forms from different countries, or blocking of exports from China by different countries. So this is something that's happening in different parts of the world. So there is now a phase of more and more regionalization rather than globalization that used to happen over the last 20 years. So the economic time is up, so they've cut it off. So the 20-year order, the last 25 years of how the economy moved is undergoing a review. In a way, it's being re-looked. And we'll also have to go with the times and see how to do what is more appropriate. There are also WTO controls on what you can incentivize, what you can do, and if you just throw money at sectors and incentivize, give subsidies, other countries will come and say, okay, you're doing the wrong thing. So I think the government is doing a fair thing. We'll have to wait and watch.
Well, with that, thank you so much, dignitaries on dais. Due to time constraint, we'll not be able to take any further questions. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I request everyone to give a big round of applause to our dignitaries on dais. Thank you so much for your valuable time. We would like to hand over a memento. I would request our team to kindly please join us on stage and hand over memento to all our dignitaries. Well, we wholeheartedly would like to once again extend our heartfelt thanks to all our dignitaries right here on dais for a wonderful session and wonderful key takeaways that everyone had from this session.